Well, morning David, Peter. I'm doing this in a lecture theatre. I'm cameraman and presenter, so I can't change the frame, so this is going to be fixed frame all the time and extremely boring, but try not to worry about it too much. I'll move backwards and forwards if I need to get closer to the camera. I'm hoping the camera's got me all in. We'll see. Anyway, you'll see this laid out at the end of the video, but I'm going to show you each of the pieces we're presenting to the Millennium Commission, bit by bit, so you can get a good idea of what is being presented. The architectural stuff is still to come, and I don't think I'll be able to video that, but we'll see. I'll give it a try. The first thing, of course, and obvious, is the one thing that they appear to rely on for the processing of the application, and that is the application form, which on the face of it is fairly straightforward and simple. It's only 4 pages, but each of the pages requires a page reference to a supplement to the application, which sets questions and requires answers in a supplementary form. So when you go through all this lot, as I'm sure you realise, there is actually a lot to do. So in terms of the general information, the application form is done, and then you have to attend to all the other pieces of material that are required. So you have a supplement to application, which is this, and this has basically page after page of answers to all the questions posed in the application form, and so there's a lot to it. That's the separating piece, and so it goes. So this is the first supplement to the application. That goes in with a spare copy, so they can go straight through this one. This is just page by page, whereas the other one was left and right, so it opened in like a book. This is different. It's just a continuation, blank side to the left, but they can make notes on that one. Then of course there's a lot more to say than simply the answers to the questions, so we need an annex to the application as well, and this is it. There's another 15,000 odd words of explaining why we're doing it, what the problems are with existing schemes and so on and so forth, how the NIC will operate, what its raison d'etre will be, and so on and so forth. So that is the annex to the supplement. Again, you'll get copies of this. And there is the scribbling copy for the Millennium Commission. I'm hoping they'll send the good stuff back, you never can tell. Importantly, we have to convince them that there are expressions of public support, and the signs have to be as strong as possible. As you know, we've tried our best to get the media side of it sorted out. It's been a very effective campaign so far. This is the A3 presentation folder for all the media coverage so far, listed as such, as you can see. And then we have the listing on the front page of the of what has been featured in the press as regards the NIC. And of course we have each of the pages presented all the copies of the various newspapers, periodicals, trade magazines, and so on and so forth. Incidentally, the original listing, the first listing at the front there, gives all the TV and radio coverage as well. So this is meant to convey to them in no uncertain terms that there is a great deal of public support for the idea. So I can't seem to split that one. Oh, for obvious reasons, there's a divider again. Put that in later. So all that we can get our hands on, all that is in support of our idea, goes into here, and so it goes. So there's that. That's the media folder. There's a lot of supplementary data, some of which came a little bit later than it ought to have done. There is, for example, the addendum to supplementary data on financial appraisal and revenue costs. This is a more convincing breakdown of revenue and income regarding the NIC than appears in the original supplementary to application, simply because there really wasn't room to present this in this way in the application notes. So I presented a complete, an additional breakdown of the way we're going to derive our income, and it gives basically a fairly good coverage of what our expenditure is likely to be, where our costs are going to be incurred, and how we're going to basically generate our money. So it looks at possible income sources for the NIC, looks at the possible levels of income, and compares that to what we're likely to spend on a yearly basis for our running costs. So that's fairly reasonable, and it comes out quite well, incidentally. You'll get a copy of that too. So and we have a little bit extra things to add to the impressive aspect of it. I mean, I simply present a list of the steering committee, so on and so forth. Then we come to the architectural side of it. This is the folder containing the site plans and everything else. You've seen these, but these are designed to come out with maps and the like, able to provide, you know, the various site maps and relative positions vis-a-vis the city itself. So you get another map. So there's both the Chilwell and the Boots Island site laid out there, and it's fairly accessible in the way it's presented in the folder. Architectural stuff, of course, it follows from the site and the architectural aspect of it. This is the folder presenting the RIBA competition side of it, and the people listed as involved. It proves, in fact, that we followed a good and due procedure for accessing our architects. And again, it breaks down there is the competition brief, and here is the the data to do with the moderator, the competitors, and so on and so forth. So that covers most aspects of it fairly well. Okay. And finally, of course, we have no, that's it actually. Oh no, sorry. We've done the steering committee. Yes, we have. That's basically it. So that's essentially the whole of it. I have a feeling I've forgotten something, but I can't remember what it is. Oh yes, yes, of course. And then finally, of course, there is the covering letter to the Millennium Commission, itemising all that we presented, and ensuring that they know the extent of the application and what information is contained in it. So what I'm waiting for now is the architectural stuff to turn up. Hoping the architect will arrive. Likewise, I hope that the courier from Group 4 will arrive, unless of course he's got prisoners on tow on the way, but we shall see. But anyway, I'll switch the camera off now, and I'll give you one last look at this whole array, and we'll take it from there. Keep our fingers crossed. Yes, we will. Okay, well, this is the whole lot just laid out, and that constitutes the main bulk of the application material. Of course, there's always the problem, will we eventually find this a complete waste of time? I certainly hope not, because it certainly took an awful lot of hard work to get it done. There's, can't remember the statistics now, but I think there's something like about 17 to 18,000 words in the supplementary data. And I don't have to tell you, as you well know, what it costs to get all the material, the media material done, or at least the effort behind the media reporting. So that's basically it. You'll see this as a good effort to do what we hope to do. Speak to you soon. Before you go, I thought you might like to see where I work. Up there, in this little house, which is actually on the main campus site. There you can see the gymnasium, the library, part of the halls of residence, some of them. A very big site. Playing fields. How very interesting, you say. And this is part of the Faculty of Science block. Just one part, I should add. It's a bit big. You'll get an idea of where we are. Halls of residence up there again, more of them. The site is actually extremely big. And as I said, this is the Erasmus Darwin building. At least I'm going to take you on a complete tour. I hope that was worth watching.
3 of the sheets, I think, that are mounted.
Right.
And the other 2 are unmounted.
Okay.
Because we ran out of mounting board.
Okay.
What I'd like to do is to take those 2 sheets away again.
Right.
And mount them, and then let you have them mounted.
What, just for me or for the...
Just for you.
Right.
Because it protects them quite a lot.
Okay, well, as far as I'm concerned, as long as they last long enough for the... whoever wants to see them, get pictures of them.
Yes.
Right, otherwise they'll be fairly well protected.
Right.
Anyway, just, I know we started a bit early, but to all those who are now watching this and are completely nonplussed by what they're seeing, let me introduce you to Andy Almond, who's with Pick Everard, our architects, who's here to supply us with copies and extensions and expansions of the original design for the NIC. So I am now going to move, as they say, a bit more central. So that we can see his plans. If you want to, Andy, you can simply talk us through now what you were thinking about as they came together.
Okay, that's great. The order of the drawings that I have here is sort of the order in which we feel they ought to be presented and the way the information comes forward best.
Right.
First sheet is really covering the design report, which is also enclosed in the A4 brochure.
Right.
It gives a basic overview of how we see the building and how we feel the building should go together and the way, more importantly, it should function. In basic terms, we've looked at the building in how it works functionally and who's going to use what parts. We see 3 different positions. We see public space, semi-public space and private space. It's important that those areas segregate out and work well so you don't get people crossing zones.
Yeah.
So basically we've got the yellow colour is public space, the blue colour, which appears here at first floor, is semi-public space, and then the red areas here at ground floor and here at first floor are private office spaces and administration areas. And just in terms to help describe the building, we've split it down into 4 elements, which goes from the dark blue area here, ground floor, and this is first floor, which that's the entrance foyer and visitors centre basically. And the light blue area in the centre here, that's the exhibition hall, conference centre and library.
Right.
The green zone here at ground floor is the restaurant, and above at first floor is basically the director's suite, and then the element of building that sweeps across the top here, ground floor and first floor, is the laboratories, administration and all that type of accommodation. We'll probably come back to this side of the sheet after we look on further. The next sheet shows basically the site plan and how the building is going to sit into its surroundings. Buildings create space inside and outside, and both are important. And also the form of the building, the way it looks, and the way its look changes as you approach it are very important. One of the statements we put at the beginning of the design report is that it's essential that the form of a building and the spaces it creates in it and around it inspire the function. We see the function of this building is really exciting. It's pushing forward and sort of pioneering, developing and designing and research. We feel that's a very dynamic use for the building, and the building itself should reflect that. So in plan, it's a very dynamic shape. It's spinning and sweeping, and we've taken that movement out into the site, so it's reflected in the car parking, in the landscape. And as you approach the building from a distance, it will appear as an entity in the landscape, quite sparkly and bright, as is shown by the artist's impressions on this side.
Yes.
Then as you drive towards it, we've proposed that the access road should come in on a circle, so as you come in, as you get closer to it, you're drawn around the building, and because of its sort of sculpted form, you see sort of the various elements.
Right.
And it draws you in, and you want to go into the building. It stays there. The ground floor plan. We've sort of, in the design report, we've likened the building and the way it functions to the process of research and design. We find that as we go through design, you've got a goal in the distance that you're aiming for, and as you travel towards that, you sort of solve various problems along the way, and other ones become apparent. It's quite an interesting and exciting route, and I think probably research is a similar process.
Yeah.
So we've put the building together with that in mind, in that as you approach the building, it shows you part of itself, but you never really see the whole thing, and you feel you want to go on further into the building to find out what else it's got. If this is going to behave itself, it'll stay where it is. So as you approach the building from this point, you're confronted by the entrance point, which appears to be a very solid masonry drum with just a hole in it that you go in,
Right.
And this sort of big slit window that goes up the front. I don't know whether you can actually see on here that element,
Right.
but certainly on the sheet underneath. What's it? Here, you've got the drum of the
Yes.
entrance here, with a slit window and then an entrance door below it.
Right.
You expect the space to be perhaps quite dark and perhaps artificially lit, quite a heavy space.
Mm.
But when you actually get in there, beyond the doors, you find that the whole of the centre area here is top lit. It's got a big glass cone over it, so you've got lots of natural light flooding down from above. The roof construction for that, which we'll see shortly on one of the sections, is a circular space frame, so it's very, very fine pieces of steel, a light space, and there's a balcony that runs around just over half the drum, so you get people moving around above you. So it's quite a dynamic space. It's a surprise as you go in.
Right.
And then from there you get glimpses down through this area, the concourse between the exhibition and conference. And in the distance we've got this big glazed wall which runs around here, and an external garden Now again, there's going to be loads of natural light falling into that area and coming through this glazing. Bits of colour from the leaves will be coming in, green, and all that light's going to be playing around on the curved walls within that concourse. The concourse is quite low compared with this space, so you're going to get a feeling of going from a very tall, very naturally lit space into a lower, artificially lit concourse, which may feel a little bit more oppressive, not horribly oppressive, but a little bit more internal, as it were.
Yes.
But in the distance you've got this bright natural light. It's going to make you want to go in there. It's going to draw you to see what is going on in this area. Now you can either follow that round into the restaurant area, where you've got views back into this glazed garden, or externally to external landscaping in here, and through further glass back into the building. Or else you're drawn into this point to where you either come into the conference suite or you go into the exhibition hall.
Right.
Again, it's moving from this concourse into the exhibition hall should be a very exciting experience, because again you're going from a low area, you're coming through this area here, defined by the dotted line, will be just a single story height. The floor above comes over that. And then you move forwards into the exhibition hall, which is this huge sweeping space with steel trusses coming down over your head, these big triangular steel trusses. And it'll be a lot of natural lighting coming in through the planar glazing of the walls. It's sort of the culmination of the journey almost for the visitors. It's sort of the jewel of the building.
What's the thermal losses going to be involved in an area like that then? I mean,
it's going to be more expensive to heat than obviously smaller rooms. You're going to get thermal loss through the walls.
Right, it's difficult to carry it.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll in a moment. Right, you're on camera. Don't worry about it. Just to prove that we are picking up the whole of the consignment.
Superstar.
Oh, that's it.
Do you want a signature?
No, you're alright.
Okay. Right, well, farewell. Fingers very tightly
Absolutely,
crossed
yes.
before we rudely interrupted. Okay. Right, exhibition hall.
Right. Okay. And the conference suite will be similar. Again, it's a large space.
Okay. I mean, what sorts? How are we? I mean, is there any way normal, solar heating effect of that large area? I mean, is there any way we can accentuate the solar heating effect to reduce internal heating costs? I mean, I'm only asking that as a question that might arise at a later date, that's all.
Yes. Using the glazing to do that isn't really practical, because you tend to find, in fact, it works the opposite way round, that the large areas of glazing are detrimental in the summer, because the heating then can become too high.
Intense, yeah.
The greenhouse effect, glass house effect.
What about reversible tiles on the surface? Black one side, white the next?
That's one way of doing it. What we've proposed is that, the exposed walls should have a louver system on the outside, which can be automatically adjusted, so as the heat, temperature or sunlight goes up, the louvers turn to shut it out. So you still get light coming through, daylight coming through around the louvers, so it's still a very airy and very light space, but you don't get the problems of solar gain.
Right.
The possibilities of using solar power to heat it is something that would be worth looking at.
Well, only in a very indirect way, in the sense that, I mean, if you could, well, you've got a very large surface area there, which I imagine could pick up a fair amount of thermal heating. It wouldn't need to be a water system. It could just be simply that it by conduction transfers more heat through to the roof area, and because it's I understand it's going to be a fairly high roof area, you get a convection effect and it'll pick up heat from above. Could be one way of just reducing the heating costs of the place. That's all,
I think it's something that could be looked into.
Yeah. Okay.
But I wouldn't profess to know enough about it.
Not me. It's just an idea.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Conference suite, a similar space to the exhibition hall. We see that as being probably a flexible area that could be set out for conferences, could possibly be used for other functions, exhibitions. Maybe you could use both of them as an exhibition halls together for larger
gatherings and functions.
So coming through the path around the garden here, the external wall this side is quite solid with just a couple of punched holes which turns your attention into the garden here. So as you walk through here you get great views into this garden area, and then through that and into the exhibition hall over here. One thing that's important with this building is that wherever you are in the building, apart from certain rooms, in the major spaces, you can see through into other major spaces, so you're aware that there's a lot of stuff going on. So when you're in the restaurant, for instance, you can see through the garden again, through the glass wall, into the concourse, so you're aware that there's people coming in here, you're aware there's people walking around this side. You can see across and into the exhibition hall, but you're aware that there's something going on in here. And similarly, working back the other way. So you get lots of views around. Keeps the building exciting and lively and interest going, which is important.
Hang on.
And then coming through this side, we've got the staff entrance at this end. Staff car parking coming around the top here. So this end of it is more the business end, as it were, the laboratories and the mechanical workshop and the associated offices on the ground floor.
Right.
The laboratories we've put together, we've got 3 big laboratories here. These two have connecting a screen, so they can be used as either 2 separate rooms or can be opened up into one large laboratory. We're looking to try and give flexibility. And then off each of those we've provided smaller laboratories, 6 in total, which can again either work individually or can work in conjunction with the joining.
Well, they'll need, some of the rooms will be used for storage and things like that, and for separate offices and whatever. So we're looking for flexibility. The lecture theatre sits centrally to that block, and we've broken up the long corridor here by producing a larger space, so that it stops this long corridor effect. We were a little bit concerned about the length of the corridor, but using this and with the fact that it's curved, you don't get the tunnel effect. So again, with curves, they tend to draw you forward. They tend to pull you on rather than giving you sort of an awesome task of walking. So I think that works pretty well. That's the ground floor plan. And get all her worldly possessions together. Moving up to the first floor plan. This is the entrance foyer below, and this is the balcony above, which I mentioned when we were looking at the ground floor plan. So this is the large void area of the entrance foyer, and above here is the glazed roof. So again, in this area here, it's very light, quite an exciting space. You can see down into the entrance foyer, people coming in, milling around, signing in at the reception desk, etc. There's stair access up to that from the entrance foyer, and there's also lift access from the entrance foyer. And this area of the first floor is the library, database and work area. So this is what we described as semi-public space. The reception desk on the ground floor is close to the end of the stairs, so there's control on who goes up there. You can cordon the stairs off if you don't want public to up there at any certain time. And similarly, the lift can be controlled electronically as to whether you want people to use it publicly or not. And the other access into it is directly from the administration and director suite side. And again, from this space, you get views down into the conference area and into the exhibition void. This window here you may wish to control. Obviously, if you've got an important conference going on in there, you don't want people wandering around nosing in from above. Blinds again, or mechanical louvers could sort out any privacy problems you have there. Looking down from the work area into the exhibition space, again you've got the visual connection. We've again got views from the work area down into this garden void, the glazed garden.
more natural light coming in here. So as you approach into this area, you've got these views through, glimpses through the work area. Something's happening over in this corner, you want to go and have a look at it. The glazed wall occurs in this position also. More natural light coming in here, and a similar draw to want to come through this area. Coming through into the director's suite, which sits in this position. Entrance into it is directly from the landing. Staff entrance comes in underneath on ground floor. Stairs up, lift up. Nice large landing space. Natural light coming in from the glazed garden. This is going to be a very nice space. Could have some furniture in it, planting in it. It's not just a boring landing. It's a space in its own right. People coming to visit the directors are going to be impressed by it. You come through into the director's suite, secretary areas here and here, which serve direct into the director's offices, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, external glazing, views across the landscaping. Secretary here has control on whoever enters. And then the centre area in here is the say the hospitality or reception suite for the directors. So there's areas of easy seating in here, so that people coming to visit anybody can sit comfortably. The boardroom is directly opposite that, again with maybe easy seating, relaxed informal area to one side and a more formal boardroom table to the other. Views into the glazed garden, great amounts of natural light coming in there, another exciting space, views across to other areas. Going the other way, we have toilets which would act as directors' washrooms, and then into the dining room. It's directly above the restaurant beneath and the kitchen beneath, so that service from that kitchen via a dumbwaiter, electric dumbwaiter, is very simple. Outside the dining room there's a large area of flat roof which cantilevers out over the service yard beneath to the kitchen. Obviously service yards, not pleasant places, you don't want to be looking at those while you're having your lunch, especially if you're a director. So by putting this cantilevered roof over that and by putting some planting onto that, it becomes an elevated garden. You're not actually aware that there is a service yard underneath. Your views are of that, and then off beyond that to landscaping and to the lake, which we saw on the site plan.
Just one thing, Andy. Fire escape opportunities. I mean, that is a recessed area there. I mean, how would you get out in an emergency?
Which is this? This
I mean,
area?
Let's say you've got fire coming up in the garden area. Okay.
Yes.
You'll be blocked off on that staircase. How are you going to get out of the suite, of the director's suite?
It's got alternative means of escape. So at the other end of the secretariat zone here, there's a glazed wall with a door in it, and a balcony, and a fire escape that drops down from there.
Okay. I was only testing. I wasn't really sure you had thought about things like that.
Yes. So you've got two means of escape. So if one gets blown out, the other one's okay.
And that's true of all aspects. I mean, the laboratory blocks are going to be fairly easy to get out of, I would have thought. But there are, I just wanted to ensure that, I mean, it looked to me like it's one of those sort of buildings where it is not a maze or a labyrinth, so you couldn't easily get trapped. I mean, there's always going to be a way out, which is what we really want.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we have considered fire escape and provided two means of escape throughout, which you'd have to do anyway under the regulations, building fire regs. So moving on from the director's suite, we come in again to the admin suite, which we've split down loosely into three areas. The internal admin, which is the maintenance officer, finance officer, personnel officer, etc. The operations suite, where we've got things like the operations general office, contact suite, etc. You will know the brief probably inside out and know exactly what's in those. And then the publications section with the editorial suite at this end, and as you say, means of escape have been considered. And again, we've broken this corridor up by providing spaces within that.
Yeah. Andy, that's terrific. Thank you very much. I'm going to have to call it quits. We're
Yep.
running out of power.
Okay.
Okay, there wasn't as charged as I thought it was. Andy, thank you very much. Pick Everard have done an extremely good job, and we've got our fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
Okay, just give us a quick last look at that one while I got just a little bit.
Okay.
That's the
sections. That's the section
Excellent.
through the main roof.
Okay.
Exhibition and conference.
Right.
And final one is the section through the other way. So we've got the entrance foyer, the glazed roof, balcony round it, double height space, the library space in the middle here over the concourse, which this shows you sort of the lower space in
Right.
comparison to that. And then on the other side, this is the staff entrance and the landing, and this is the glazed garden
That's
with the
beautiful.
glazed wall and the open top with all the light coming into that.
Marvellous. I'm fading you out.